You're listening to the Buyer's Mind Podcast, a podcast for internet marketers and business owners covering topics like psychology, sales, persuasion, and so on. Revealing what makes people buy. Here's your host, Juho Tunkelo.
Hey, and welcome to the Buyer's Mind Podcast. I'm Juho Tunkelo, your host, and today we're talking to a longtime friend of mine from Australia, Gideon Shalwick. Welcome.
Hey Juho, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. It's been ages since we had a talk like this.
It's been a while, and for those who don't know Gideon, okay, let me just finish off an introduction. He's a video marketing expert through and through. He's a video blogger, YouTube expert, owner of Reroll.com, Splashio.com, and many other things. And I guess we really need to catch up and see all the things that you're doing lately. And also, for those who have been around a long time, we used to have a podcast together way back in 2007, 8, and we talked about what was then called Web 2.0, which was basically when social media was just a glimmer in Mark Zuckerberg's eye or something like that. So
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if we were to look back at those episodes, we would be introducing this newfangled thing called Facebook and Twitter. And
yeah, we definitely talked about Twitter. I can't remember Facebook, but
not sure.
There were also a bunch of other really interesting things we talked about. It was so much fun. Yeah, they're back in 2008. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's a lifetime ago.
Yeah, before the iPhone.
That's correct. Yeah.
I do remember this conversation I had with you, Juho. I'm not sure if it's on topic, but it was so interesting how a big question in your mind was what was going to be the next mobile device. This was before the iPhone, and we already had. I mean, a smartphone thing was kind of being talked about, but nothing really was around. And then, boom, smartphones came on the scene, and then the iPhone, and all your predictions. It really stood out to me. All your predictions came true. A lot of your predictions. It was just so interesting.
That was an interesting time, and well, so what have you been up to lately? You've got a couple of startup things going on, or what's your focus right now?
I've been busy, man. It's more recently, in the last, I guess, between 3 and 4 years, I've been heavily focused on building branded businesses as opposed to my personal brand, and also moving away from information products and moving more towards software and online platforms. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I started a business called Splashio that helps you make your videos look a lot better and helps you create really great looking videos much faster. Yeah. And so that's been going for about 3 or so years. Got over getting close to 80,000 subscribers now. Doing really well. Good. Set up pretty much automated, and it's bought me some nice time to work on the next thing, which I've been busy with for about a year now. A business called Reroll, Reroll.com, which is a platform that helps you automate the whole video ad creation process on YouTube. So that's pretty exciting, and so far so good, and really enjoying it.
Yeah, exciting things. I try to sort of stay current with current trends having to do with video, but you really need to be an expert to keep tabs on everything. And YouTube ads is really the hot thing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're still right at the beginning of it. It's certainly hot for the early adopters and the innovators. I don't know if the early majority is on it just yet when we talk about the business world, but it's just a matter of time. And once that wave hits, and it's going to hit, there's no doubt about it, it's going to be big. It's going to be really huge. And so we're positioning ourselves really nicely for that coming wave. I mean, we're already on the wave. It's just nice that we're on, at the beginning of the wave now already.
Yeah. And those early adopters who are trying things like YouTube remarketing and such, it's fantastically effective.
Oh yeah. That's the whole remarketing thing. There, a lot of people are saying this is like the year of the pixel, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
remarketing pixel, and yeah, same thing with YouTube ads. Of course, you can do the remarketing thing in more than one way, and you can build remarketing lists just on AdWords for video. But of course, you can combine that with your normal remarketing lists, which works like magic as well.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're well on the pulse of the times, because when we're looking at what's really selling now, I think the last 3 years or so, there's been a lot more focus on software, and a lot more.
Yes.
Let's say it's getting a kind of a few years ago, 5 years ago, it was still the kind of time when you have to, like, okay, let's take these 7 different pieces of software and glue them together with some
Yeah.
piece of code that somebody in Lithuania codes for you, and then pray that it holds together. And now it's all these suites, pay $97 and you have your funnels, and pay another $97
Yes.
and you have to have your landing pages and stuff
Yep.
like that. So
Yep.
so
So true.
do you have like a goal in mind with your current ventures, that you'd like to grow them to a certain stage and then perhaps unload them and something like that?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I learned from a few years ago with when I was still building the personal brand, or when I was building or creating information products and selling those. The trouble that I had with that always was that, yes, it was great having a personal brand and having a great connection with my audience, but the biggest problem was that I struggled. um, I always became the bottleneck no matter what I did. And that was one issue. The other issue was that I'd never be able to sell those businesses, if I wanted to. So for those businesses to stay successful, I would have, it was really difficult for me to do that unless I somehow, I guess, I don't know. Because the topic that I'm in is so changing, and it's not like I can create a product and then it's relevant for 10 years. And
Yeah,
a new
yeah,
product that I
true.
would create back then would be relevant for 6 months at the most. And then I have to recreate it. And the only person who could recreate it was me, certainly with the things, the way
Yeah,
I had it set up.
yeah,
So I thought, no, how do I change that? How can I create something that is independent of me, and something that can grow essentially without me being the face of the business, or without me being the bottleneck in the business? And so that was one of the reasons I started Splashio, because it's an independent brand. The way I set it up right from the beginning was to have in mind that I could sell it one day, and even though I might not sell it, just by going through that thinking process of thinking, hey, I might want to sell this one day. How do I set this up in the best possible way
yeah.
to make it easy to sell one day? And what's awesome about that is when you do it and when you have that sort of a mindset, you actually create a much better business, a much more systemized, automated business that gives you more freedom in the end. And so the same thing with Reroll. Once again, there's a bit of hard work at the front end, setting it up, but with having in view to be able to sell it one day, or to at least have the option
Yeah,
to
yeah.
sell it one day. So there's a lot of focus on systemizing, automating, building teams, removing myself from the business, all this sort of stuff to make sure that it's a sellable and leverageable and scalable entity.
That's smart business. And do you have like a team of employees, or a virtual team, or how are you
Yeah.
doing
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. It's been an evolution, or what shall I say? What happens when you get I guess when you get a big step in evolution? What do you call that? Is that what do you call it when a cell starts with M? What's the word? Not migrates, but
Can't quite get.
it changes, or there's a something wrong in the code, and then all of a sudden you get a massive different change, like a step growth or something like that.
Huh, okay.
I can't remember the word.
Yeah.
It's a
All
very
right.
obvious word, and I just can't remember it right now.
Okay. Got it.
Still a bit jet lagged from a trip, but anyway, going from Splashio to Reroll, there's been a much bigger step in that sense. What I did differently this time around was to essentially, instead of trying to buy a team with money, I teamed up with the team. So I partnered with an existing development team,
Mm-hmm.
and that's made all the difference. So they've got skin in the game. I've got skin in the game.
Right.
We're all really motivated to make it work. I mean, at the moment, there's about 13 of us working on the business,
Okay.
and we're all around the world. I'm in Australia. The development team's in Singapore. We have workers in the Philippines as well, and even in the UK and in New Zealand as well. So it's really a global team. Oh, and the other two co-founders they live in Singapore, but they're both from France as well. So a truly global and what was it called, cosmopolitan or metropolitan, whatever, a global kind of a team.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like that really seems to be the way that great companies are built these days. Unless, I mean, if you don't specifically want to or need to go to Silicon Valley and do that whole experience, then you just find the best people all around the world and find a way to make it work.
Yeah, that's right. And with the tools we have these days, it's, I mean, sure, I think it is still best if you can all be in the same office, for communication. But there's some great tools around these days that really makes the process a lot easier to communicate properly. So far so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting. Comes to mind a presentation I recently heard from Buck Risby, who has like a 8-figure supplement business online, and he's got a big virtual team, and he kind of shamefully admitted that yes, he's got a head of support, I think, who's been on board for 5 years, and he's never met her, and yet it works fine. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it's exactly how it is. I mean, I try to go to Singapore once a quarter to meet up with the team, and I think that helps. We normally use those to set the scene for the next quarter. We like to have goals for each quarter, and set the scene and goals together as a team, and then figure out a plan for how we're going to achieve it. And I must say, it's really good with all my previous businesses. Not all of them, actually. I've been in many different partnerships before, but what's and the key benefit that I've always found with a partnership is having that mastermind available. When two or more minds come together in a spirit of harmony, and working towards a common goal, you get that mastermind thing forming, as Napoleon Hill talks about. And for me, that makes a massive difference, to the quality of the ideas, the productivity, the motivation of the whole thing. It comes with challenges, of course, as well as as you normally have with working with people. But I think it's been definitely an evolution and a learning process. With each new partnership, I've learned new skills and been able to improve on each one every single time.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that you have team members in Singapore. It seems to be a happening place. I haven't been yet myself, but but I know people from Finland who have gone there to do their thing, and there's quite a few marketers, high-profile marketers, also doing great things there.
It's a fascinating place, Juho. I mean, I just saw I can't remember where I saw it, somewhere on the internet or somewhere, about the Singapore's history, from how they went from a third world country to a first world country, and in basically a record time or something like that, or maybe they were the first one. I don't know how they figured that stuff out, but if you look at Singapore, they're sort of in that center of Asia, right? So they're sort of like they're a trading nation, right? So they don't have any physical resources that's worth anything, so they're really forced to trade. But they're also in that hub, where they've got all of Asia around them, but they're also kind of surrounded by a lot of third world countries like Southeast Asia and Malaysia and Thailand, and it's interesting to see always when I travel there, the contrast. I mean, you visit in Singapore and then you just drive over the bridge to Malaysia, and it's like two totally different worlds. It's like 10-minute drive or something. It's incredible. Yeah, just incredible.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it's possibly the highest standard of living in the world right now. In
probably the most expensive too.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, them in Australia, and I think is it Switzerland or maybe Finland? That's
Maybe.
really expensive to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, if we're going to pretend that we're not just catching up, let's try and get into video and selling. So, I know you have a lot of insight into selling with video, and it seems to be a given that today many people prefer being sold through video, and you only have to look at like ClickBank or JVZoo, and the majority is sold through either video sales letters or at least there's a video component to a lot of selling online. So where do you think we're headed next in terms of video and sales?
Well, I think if you want to be on the cutting edge or the, not sure if it's bleeding edge, it's probably cutting edge. Certainly a trend that I've seen is moving very much towards anything live, live video and live interaction. And when you think about it, if you, in terms of engagement, engaging an audience online in particular, I can't think of a better tool than live video.
Yeah.
To engage an audience and to then eventually sell to them as well, or to offer something, or to make an introduction to something.
Yeah.
There's no better medium than live video. Now, I used to say this for just online video, the pre-recorded stuff, but that was back in the day before we had live stuff happening. And now with the explosion, well, actually, I'm not sure if it's exploding just yet, but it depends how you're looking at it. But there's certainly been a massive increase in live video stuff. We've had webinars for ages, but I think it's moving more into something that is much higher production value, much better experience for the user, much better streaming sort of stuff. It's all moving towards that, and that's really exciting to me. I've been using YouTube live events for quite a while now for my business, but I think that's still sort of something that people will catch on. So I think that's something really to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm sure you're completely correct. I've now that you mention it, I've been involved in a couple of promotions that the main sales component was actually an event that was like a small TV like event with a small audience of 50 people or less, and then you have like thousands of people watching live, and
yes,
and the subtext is that you're selling something, but it's almost like a TV show. And
yes, that's right. And I had a prediction. This was back in 2009 with JJ. When I did the thing with JJ, I told him, JJ, watch this space. This is going to turn into the equivalent or something even better than TV. Very soon, any person would become their own broadcasting station in and of themselves. Yeah. And now with things like Meerkat and also now Periscope from Twitter, where you can do instant live streaming from your phone. Oh my goodness, that's just changed the game again. And once again, that's live video. It's live video on the spot, anywhere, anytime. As long as you got your phone with you and you got an internet connection, you can stream something live. It is just incredible. So we've got basically, I don't know, how many billion people are on the planet?
8 or so.
Okay, whatever that number is. Potentially, if everyone has a mobile phone with them and an internet connection, you could have that many channels. And back in the day when we just had TV, they had this monopoly on what could be broadcast and when and all this sort of stuff. But now, that power is essentially in anybody's hands. As long as you get a phone, internet connection, you can do a much better job with a proper computer and a proper studio and stuff like that. Yeah. But oh my goodness, it's just incredible the sort of stuff that you can do right now.
Yeah, it is, and it seems like increasingly companies are almost like they are having to have a publishing arm. Okay, we do the content marketing thing and we do videos and so on, but it's almost like you have to have your own TV station and your own or newspaper in the form of a blog or a newsletter or whatever, and it just works
Yes.
works well. And if you think about marketing, and it's really sort of getting out of hand, and there's a lot of aggressive marketing, and there's so much competition, and a product launch every minute, you shouldn't really do what everybody else is doing. And then we have people like James Tramko, who I talked to a few years ago, and he's basically having podcasts and his own content running his whole front end, and that's the whole marketing.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, just one more point about the live stuff as well that I think is key is that it's the only medium where you're creating you're creating the future as you go. You know, like when you're on a live call, nobody knows what's going to happen next, because and that creates this sense of unpredictableness that just hooks people.
Yeah.
And when you compare that to any pre-recorded mediums, like say you're watching a video on YouTube that's been pre-recorded, you're actually watching a snippet of the past.
Yeah.
It's already been created. There's nothing unpredictable about it, really. And and I think that's why the engagement level changes as well. As soon as you introduce the live aspect of it, you have that sense of mystery and intrigue about, hey, what's going to happen next? Even if it's kind of, sometimes you might watch it back and you go, that was pretty boring. But just by not knowing what's going to happen next, it really pulls people in. And, I think for bigger businesses and corporates, that's a lesson to be learned that, yes, sure, there's risk involved with that because, you're introducing a variable there that you might not be able to control much. But the benefit that you get from it by engaging an audience and getting them just glued to your message, glued to your words, whoever is communicating on that video. I mean, what more do you want? What more can you ask for as a promoter or someone who's doing business online, to have an audience where they're just sitting on the edge of their seats and they're listening to every single word you're saying, and they basically can't click away. It's give you an example. I started watching a presentation from someone the other day, and it was in the wellness field. Now, I'm kind of interested in it, but I'm not fully interested in it. And this particular one was really not anything I'm interested in all that much. But I started watching it because a friend of mine said, hey, check this, looks cool. And I thought, okay, I'll just check for 5 minutes. I ended up watching like an hour of this thing, and I wasn't interested in it, but I couldn't stop watching it just because it was live.
And I guess that goes to, there's a reality TV on everything right now, and people just can't get enough of at least the perception in that case that it's something real that is happening, even though it's totally scripted. But and the amount of attention you get from the audience is completely different from say a webinar that is, even if it's presented live, or in a lot of cases it's pre-recorded, and you're kind of sitting when something like that starts, you kind of sit back and go like, well, I guess we'll see. I'll check my phone while this is starting. So
yes, fully. Something else that's really hit me in the last couple of years, and I didn't realize it's as big as it is, but it just, the penny dropped for me recently, and that is the massive need for people globally to feel connected.
Yeah.
I read a really interesting article on addiction, right? A friend who has a brother-in-law is quite is very addicted to some sort of a drug. I don't know, and he was very interested in talking. So he shared this article with me, and I won't share the whole thing with you because it's quite long. But I mean, it came down to saying that even something like addiction can be solved by just incorporating those people who are addicted into a community and making them feel connected again to a community. And I think that there's when you apply that into business, we have all these people in the world, I think, in some degree feel kind of disconnected for whatever reason, and we have this massive urge and desire to just feel part of something, feel part of a community, or feel part of something. And by doing something like this, where you have a live interactive kind of an environment, And Facebook is a great example also of the whole connection thing and the desire to feel connected. It's an opportunity there as well to do some great things, to make people feel part of something, but also, if you're running a business, to provide people with value, and in exchange, they provide you with their funds, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think there's definitely something huge here. It's one of those mass trending desires that someone like sorry, my brain is not working today. I'm still jet lagged from my trip. The guy who wrote Breakthrough Advertising, Schwartz, right? Eugene Schwartz. He wrote about, mass trending desires, and these things take years to develop. And I think this need and desire for connection is really coming through, and that's why I really think this live video thing is going to be the next wave, and going to make a massive impact on our world.
Yeah, I think you're really hitting the nail on the head, because it just takes me back to legendary old Gary Halbert.
Yes.
Who I was lucky to see live before he passed away, and he was quite often, talking to, when he was talking to internet marketers who were specifically internet marketers, and he was going like, well, you don't really understand that the problem with the internet is that people really crave connection, and if you don't show them that you're a real person and you have a phone number and so on, then you're probably leaving money on the table. And I remember some case studies where he basically gave somebody a formula like, okay, replace your order form with this kind of certain kind of phrasing, and then a phone number, and the conversion rate would be like 3 or 5 times bigger, because
Wow.
because in some cases people just want to talk to somebody before they buy. So
Yes.
have that connection first.
I wonder how what he would have said, with I would have loved to pick his brain like today, with the latest developments in technology, because he's sort of like the kind of old school copywriting guy, right? And who found a really amazing way to connect with people through words. And I wonder if he had access to the mediums we have access today, what he would have done with it, And I think it's an interesting, be very, very interesting to even just think about.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now that I remember, before we started the call, you were saying something about how you go through each year with one thing in mind, and you said something about you'd really spend some quality time investigating how and why people buy. And would you like to share something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So since last year, I started doing it last year for the first time. So I'm in my second year of it now. Instead of making New Year's resolutions, I decide on one word that would summarize my whole year, or that would become the focus of everything I do for that year, or would become the lens that I look through for the whole year. Mm-hmm. And the key word for last year was leverage. Now, I really thought, okay, everything that I do needs to be leveraged. I'm going to be looking for opportunities and situations, information, and meeting up with the right people, all of it just to increase leverage in my life and my business. And so along those lines, one of the first key questions that came into my mind was, looking for sweet spots, basically. That's essentially what it came down to, looking for sweet spots. So I started looking for all sorts of sweet spots where, just like when you're hitting the ball with a sweet spot of your racket, it just hits that ball so much faster. It's so much easier. It's leverage. It's essentially leverage. Yeah. And so one of the sweet spots I was looking for was how to increase sales, or how to effortlessly, increase sales or get the sale. And it led me to the question of, why do people buy? Yeah. And I knew that if I could understand that really, really well, I've been in business now for 8 or 9 years, right? So it's quite late in the game for me to start thinking about that. But
well, some people never ask that question. So
right. And as soon as I asked that question, it was so interesting, the journey that I went on, and the answer wasn't simple.
Yeah.
Or I'd put it this way: the answer is simple, but getting to the answer was quite a complicated process.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I got there, and I'm happy to be to add to my model. But it's certainly been instrumental in what I've been doing since then.
Man, you're good at this. I'm at the edge of my seat right now. So that's a good prelude. You've got everybody hanging now. So you've got to sit. Okay. Give us something.
Okay, I'll give you something. All right. I'll give you the start of it. It's not enough time to expand on the whole model, but it comes down to three things for making the sweet spot. And this is one of the other things, I think for leverage and finding a sweet spot, it often comes down to just three things to get to that sweet spot. And a way to visualize it is with three circles, like a Venn diagram. So three circles intersecting in the middle. So the sweet spot for why people buy came down to this. The first, another way to look at it is to ask the question, what is the output of this sweet spot? And the output of this particular sweet spot is a transaction or transactions. It can be either a transaction for a sale or a transaction in a relationship, some sort of an agreement, any kind of transaction, right? So what is it that makes a transaction happen? And you need these three things. The first thing is you need a person or a group of people, right? To make the transaction with, right? So that's just goes without saying. And obviously here, well, it's not as obvious, but very important here is that it's exactly the right person. It has to be the right person that you do the transaction with. You can't just do a transaction with any person, right? Yeah. Depending on your product or service. The second thing is that you need to be making an offer to this person or group of people. Right, and it needs to be exactly the right offer for that person and for their problems, needs, wants, frustrations, or desires. So those two things need to match. But it's still not enough. You still need one more absolutely key ingredient that a lot of people miss out on. And before I reveal it to you, let me just use an example. Imagine you buy the paper tomorrow morning, or I'm not sure if you guys still have papers in newspapers in Finland. They're certainly becoming less of a thing here. Yeah. People just read it on their iPads.
Well, somebody's buying because they're there, so I guess.
They're still there. Anyway, okay, let's imagine the newspaper, right? You open it up and you see this ad where it says something like, get $10,000 for free, paid into your bank account today. All you have to do is send us your bank account details and we'll take care of the rest. Here's the number to call.
Okay.
So what's happened there is we've got two things, two of the three things in place. We have the people who are reading the newspaper. They're all interested in making more money, right? Who's not? And then you've got the offer, get $10,000, just send us your bank account details. Now, how many people will actually respond to that?
I'm guessing not as many as you'd think.
Yeah, great answer. You'd hope not too many people, and then I'm sure you will still get people responding to that, people that might be a bit more gullible. But now contrast that to exactly the same ad and going out to the same people with one difference. This time around, the ad is accompanied by, well, if you could do it online now, it's accompanied by a video from President Obama, and let's say this is just for the US, and he is endorsing this message and saying, hey, everybody, this is President Obama here. You probably recognize me. But this is the real thing. This is a real deal. We've made too much money last year. We've got a massive surplus and want to give some back to the people. And it's legit. And it's got our sign of approval. Your details are 100% secure. It goes through 10 pass encryption coding or whatever it is, and it's all hunky dory. Now, imagine what the response would be then.
Well, better.
You'd imagine that it would be better. Yeah. I think it's something that needs to be split tested.
Yeah.
But so the key ingredient there is the ingredient of trust.
Yeah.
And so we've got those three circles. You need someone like the audience, and specifically the right target audience. Then you need the right offer to them, and then you need trust.
Yeah.
And without the trust circle, there's no transaction.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no transaction.
Yeah. Or
And,
you resort to selling tactics that aren't really pretty.
Right, and that's the thing. There's fake trust, fake and short-term trust
Yeah.
that some people can manufacture and can do quite well, but it often and probably always leads back to some sort of backfire thing or some sort of short-term success that just backfires in any case because it's not built on truth and justice and a long-term view of being a good person.
Yes. And the American way. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So that trust has to be authentic, absolute authentic trust. There's no way around that.
Right.
And bringing it back to the video thing, and especially live video, I found no better way for building trust with your audience and with building a community than through something like video, and especially live video. So all you need, if you can build an audience and you can build trust with them, it really eventually you can make any kind of offer or introduction to them, where if they really believe in you and you have something of real value to them and it's at a reasonable price, they're going to respond, and you're going to have that transaction taking place as a result. It has to.
Yeah, that's really great, and having clarity on this kind of level that you have basically 3 words. You need this and this and this, and really understanding that deeply. Then you don't need to do elaborate things that or aggressive marketing or anything like that when you understand what's needed. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also part of the whole process of building that trust is really getting to know your audience, your target audience. I mean, it's difficult to build trust with someone that you don't know, and so the better you know someone, the higher the trust will, naturally become as well. In general, like if you're out to build a relationship, that is. So I think through the process of building that trust, because you get to know your audience so well, you also get to know what their main problems and challenges and frustrations and desires are. And from that, you naturally become good at creating solutions, because it's just like, hey, here's a problem. Let's create a solution that matches that problem, and we've been able to figure that out because we have such high trust in a relationship with our target audience. So when it comes to making your offer, you almost not, you don't even have to sell it. It's more like, and it's not even, you're almost not even making an offer. It's almost more just introducing a solution to an existing problem.
Yeah.
And then from that, people just go nuts. They because there's a high level of trust, they know they have a problem, you've got the solution, they just want this thing that you've got.
Yeah. I think
turns into a sale.
That's really good, and this is kind of like there's a term that I like to use, which is invisible sales, and it's kind of like when you put it together like that, then you don't look like you're selling, but you can use it for selling. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. You're really dropping some bombs on us here, and yeah,
value bombs.
Good stuff. Yeah, I might as well just call it a day, and the Buyer's Mind podcast is full. Well, maybe there's more to explore, but this is certainly
this
stuff.
Certainly is. I'm not sure if there's enough time, but that each of those 3 circles, the audience one, the offer one, and the trust one, they each can be broken up into, each one of them has their own sweet spot as well. So each one can be broken down into 3 more circles, which gives you even more clarity. So yeah, and I mean, you can figure that out for yourself as well without me even talking about it. Maybe just for the offer one, it's very simple. It's made out of the problem that your target audience is having, the solution that you come up with to meet that problem, and then the language that you use to communicate your solution. So that really becomes your offer.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Nice little sweet spot.
Excellent. Well, it's been a total pleasure talking to you again, and And as always, it just brings me back, and whenever we get to talking, we fast becomes very sort of forward-looking thoughts come up, and I'd like to do this again with you sometime. And
Absolutely.
So
brings up sweet memories, Juho. I still remember those days back in 2008. We did those interviews together, and there was so much fun. We were just, I remember within I don't know how long it was, within a week or something, we were ranking on the top 10 chart.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just slim pickings, I guess. But I think there are still some people who that send me email and ask, when are you going to start again? And it was a surprisingly big fan page. Fan
is
base.
It still live somewhere?
I don't think so, but maybe there's some live links
somewhere.
Someplace. Yeah.
I'd love to listen to some of them again. It'd be so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you want to find out more about what Gideon is up to, where would you have them go?
Probably the best. I mean, if people are interested in video advertising, go to Reroll.com. That's V for video, EEROLL.com. If you want to follow along behind the scenes, you can go to my personal blog at GideonShalwick.com. I don't update it too much at the moment, but when I do, there'll be awesome stuff on it. But that's probably two main places. And if you're interested in the video production side of things, that's Splashio.com.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I might as well, go another half hour, but let's wrap this up here, and let's have another one down the line. So thanks for all your great insights, and going through this one myself with a fine-tooth comb. So
thank you, Juho.
Thank you.
It's been great fun.